It had been about 24 hours since Hamilton Fletch and Foster had begun their journey. They had managed to pass through the first of the territories that they would need to cross in order to get to the hag. At which point, Foster was beginning to grow tired, lagging behind, finding it difficult to catch her breath or keep her eyes open. "Hey, Guy, I need to rest," Foster said. "We don't have time for that. We need to keep going," Hamilton replied, seeming completely unsympathetic. "Sorry, but this isn't a suggestion. I need to sleep." "What?" he replied, almost as if he wasn't expecting it. "You're telling me that you sleep?" "Oh yeah, you are a lower level demon," replied, as if the thought only just occurred to him. "Some of you low-level demons do still sleep." "What? You're telling me that high-ranked demons don't sleep?" "Well, the large majority of us know. There are a few exceptions to this. For example, the prince we're after most likely sleeps. Or at least that's what I'm led to believe. But it's not his demon half, it's his dragon half that does it. Dragons sleep. As he is half dragon, he must have inherited it." "Well, whether our target sleeps or not doesn't really matter," Foster replied. "I sleep. I need to sleep. Sleep is very important. You do know that if you don't sleep, eventually you die, right? I kind of want to keep living. You know, I enjoy living. It's nice," Foster said, getting a little bit irritable at this point. "Fine, I suppose if it can't be helped," the man replied, taking a few steps over to a tree and then leaning against it. "So, how long will you be required to rest?" he said, looking over to Foster, whilst once again pushing the glasses back up onto his face, with his pointer finger, ever so gently. I'm going to need at least 6 hours. We've been walking non-stop. And quite frankly, I'm exhausted." 6 hours, the man said, sounding very unpleased. "You wouldn't perhaps be milking this a bit, would you? Surely you can sustain on less. We are in a great deal of hurry," Hamilton said, still with that very unpleased scowl on his face, staring at Foster. "Actually, we require more than that, usually 8 to 10 hours, Foster replied as she began to take off her bag, taking a few things out, including a sleeping bag that she had. "I actually cut it down to 6 to be expedient. 6 is basically the bare minimum. Any less than that, and it's going to begin majorly affecting me. My energy supply will start dwindling down to nothing. Oh, just so you know, I also have to eat. I don't want it to come as a surprise to you later. But food is very important. I don't know if you eat, but I definitely have to eat. Regularly. And the food supplies that I have won't last forever. Eventually, we're going to have to stop and either buy some or hunt." Low-level demons are so inconvenient. All these needs. You need to sleep for hours of your day. To waste your time gathering food. It's inconvenient. That's exactly what it is," Hamilton said, crossing his arms, seeming perturbed with the entire thing. Just the concept of needing to eat being a complete and utter bother. The concept of sleep seeming like a waste. So, I can surmise from your response that eating and sleeping aren't things that you actually need. Of course they aren't. I am a wraith. We don't need to eat. We don't need to sleep. I've never done either, and I feel just fine. If only there were some more high-level demons in this place that were easier to get in contact with. I could have abated this entire problem. Most likely would have saved me a great deal of time. However, the demons that inhabit the human world are far and astray weak. There's very little demonic power to be found in this place. And all of the demons that reside here seem chained to these necessities. Honestly, I don't know how you deal with it. Having to sleep for hours of your day. Having to fetch food like an animal. If I had to do it, I think it would drive me mad. Wasting all of that time knowing that I could be achieving something else. Or relaxing with a nice book. I suppose there is a rainbow at the end of this. Rainstorm you call sleep and the necessity to eat. I guess it could give me time to catch up on my reading, he said, as a slight green aura began to emit from him. He raised his hand as, in a green flash of energy, a book seemed to emerge in his hand. Ah, my good friend literature. It's been too long. Nearly 28 hours since I've flipped through your pages. Come, let us be together for just a little while longer. Wait a second, you know magic? Foster said, staring at him as the green glow faded and he began opening the book. Yes, I'm a high-level demon. Of course I know magic. Well, if you know magic, then why couldn't you have gotten us to our destination by now? Can't you, teleport or fly us or something? No, that's stuff that magic can do. For your information, it doesn't work that way, he replied, as if the mention of it was distasteful. Since you're uneducated, I might as well inform you. There are many aspects to magic that you don't understand. For example, the ability to fly falls within a category that is outside of my own, so it's exceptionally taxing in order to perform spells of that nature. Second, yes, I can teleport. However, creating the portal that I use to transition from one place to another requires knowledge. Knowledge of the place that I'm transporting myself to, or the person that I'm transporting myself to. I can't simply pick a place that I've never seen or a person that I don't know and teleport to them. I have to, at the bare minimum, be familiar with them, have seen it in artistry or gazed upon it through some magical means. If that was all that was required to find someone, then the prince would have been found long ago, he said as he flipped the page of the book that he seemed to be reading through as he spoke. Well, if you're after this prince, then why doesn't somebody who's familiar with him, like his mother, just teleport to where he's at? Open up a portal and just go there. Once again, it doesn't work that way, he replied. Problem 1. Transportation magic, whether it be teleportation or portals, portals being my only avenue, require that you be in the same realm as the person you're portaling to. You can't teleport between realms. It requires that you use a gate. a powerful, established passage. There are, of course, other means to pass between realms, but they are few, far in between, and some of which are exceptionally hazardous. The best option is always using one of the demon world gates that lead to the other realms. But there are countless other realms, and the number of people actually familiar with the child when he disappeared was not so great. Very few had ever seen him. He was stolen on the day of his birth, and of the few that did see him, even fewer actually possessed the ability to transport themselves rapidly. Even if they had left right away to try to teleport once they traveled to a new realm, it still would have been a shot in the dark, a completely random guess at what realm they decided to take him to. Meaning that if they traveled to a realm and tried to teleport, there's every chance that the realm they traveled to would be incorrect, and thus the teleportation would have no effect. The amount of time that passes is also an important factor. Once again, you can transport yourself to an individual if you know who they are, if you're familiar with them. But as time passes, that familiarity passes as well. Change in visual image matters. He was only an infant when he was taken, so his physical state has drastically changed since then. Or at least that's the most likely case. He no longer looks like an infant, and thus any attempts to teleport while thinking of the image of that infant lying in his crib would be completely wasted. The spell wouldn't work. Why is magic so complicated? Fosta said, unfurling her sleeping bag and starting to lay down inside of it. Like really, why couldn't you have flied us? If you can make us fly, that would make this whole thing much easier. As I said, flying is outside of my magical purveyance. I am primarily a combat-style caster, so my knowledge and experience with magic mostly falls within that category. And since flying is outside of my category, the amount of magic I have to use has massively increased in order to use it, especially with sustained magic like flight. And on top of that, I don't know the spell for flight. There are so many countless variations of magic that no one can know them all. You simply have to collect the spells that appeal to you, that you're functionally able to use. The incantation for flight isn't as simple as just thinking about flying and you can do it. It's a complicated ordeal. Are you even listening to me? He said, looking over to Fosta, turning away from his book for a moment, as he began to hear slight snoring. And she's asleep. Typical low-level demons. They can't even pay attention when you're explaining important things. No wonder they're so weak, Hamilton said, as he turned back towards the book in his hand, smiling a bit as he flipped to the next page. You don't sleep, do you, my old friend? He said, caressing the pages. I suppose it all can't be helped. We can get back on the road once she wakes back up. I will retrieve your son, my friend, he said, looking to the sky for just a moment. And when I do, the debt that I owe you from so long ago will finally be repaid. You saved my family, and so now I have the opportunity to save yours. Hang on, my friend. Your son will be with you shortly enough.